make choices about where they want to go. Right? So this organization, this community is 5 years old, approximately. We've had 5 years of doing work. We've actually changed things. We've actually gotten some notice. We have people cheering for us. We have people giving us congratulations and accolades. And quite frankly, the easy thing to do is to keep doing what we've been doing. That's the easiest thing to do. But there's two folks that we don't think will settle for that. The first is you guys. We don't think you're willing to settle for good. And the other is the guy who made the $20 million bet on this program. I know he's not willing to settle for good. Okay? So, we undertook a little process, and we asked ourselves some really serious questions about what to do. And so for the last 6 months, we went back to the lab. Just like a scientist goes back to reformulate, just like a coach goes back to redesign the offense, right? Just like a business person who finds that the market has changed, there's a disruptive technology, they go back to work and they re-look at what they're doing. So we've been working literally for 6 months in the lab trying to think about how to re-envision this program. We did one very smart thing. It's something I've advocated with most of the things I write, clients I work with, etc., and that is that you've got to let the youngest voices in the room have a lot of input. And so our process was led by the youngest member of our staff, and that's Brennan, Costello, who's an alumni of this program. So he made sure from the minute we started all the way through the process that the Engler entrepreneur's voice was at the center of what we were saying. Right? As we went through that process, we recognized a couple of things. We recognized the university, by and large, has a great history of building out lab space for people who do discipline-based work. Right? Ruminant nutrition, plant pathology, biochemistry, amino acid chemistry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But really, nobody was doing really serious thinking about a lab for you. And so we came to another realization in the middle of the summer, and this was something we learned while we were out in Silicon Valley, that you never ever fall in love with the solution. You either fall in love with the problem or with the customer. And Dave and Michelle and Brennan and I realized that we had fallen in love with all of you. That God had put it on our hearts to be here to serve you, to build that out. And so we have worked really hard. I got to tell you, and scary at times, because quite frankly, we're trying to disrupt not only our program, we're trying to disrupt the way that university education gets done. Right? And we know we're going to run into some folks who are going to push back, but we're so excited about this that we are very thrilled about where we're headed. Now, we listen. You may have noticed that over the last year or so, there's been a lot of surveys. You've had exec team members asking you a lot of questions. You've had recruiting surveys. You've had all kinds of ways for us to be gathering information. Dave has been observing classes for 5 years, taking a hard look at what's in actually beyond that, taking a hard look at things. We were asking our alums, because our alums are super engaged. We were asking our advisory board. We were asking our mentors. We were asking lots of people in the community, in the ecosystem, what is the best path forward, right? And so we listened, and we tried to listen really hard. And here's what we heard. We heard that we were pretty good at starting companies, but quite frankly, we sucked at growing them. That's true. We were good at starting, we were not good at growing. And so we took that to heart. We heard people say, we think we should focus on real wealth creation. Not just money for money's sake, but real wealth creation. Creating opportunities for other people, growing communities, but being profitable. It's really funny, as a matter of fact. Right as we had that discussion, the next day my phone rings and it's Jake. He goes, hey, I'm driving across, you were driving across Idaho, right? And he goes, I've got this, I've been thinking about this. You know what we got to do? We got to get more focused about creating profitable companies. Right? And I was like, holy schmoly, right? Are we on the same page with what? Right? So we had been listening to that. We also, through all the things that we've been doing and watching you and listening to people, we know the traditional classroom is the wrong route. You're saying that, the community's saying that, our experience is telling us that. And so we heard that message loud and clear. Focus. Right? We needed to focus. More interaction for you with the professionals outside of the staff. We're going to give you everything we've got, but we don't know all the answers. We don't have all the skill sets. So that's another message we heard as we went into our work. That you wanted not only professional growth, but also personal growth. Right? And that matters. So we heard that message loud and clear. And we heard people saying, look, you got to go from good to great. And so we went back to the books that have been core to this program, and Good to Great is one of them. And we re-studied them. And we went back, I probably watched Moneyball 10 times. This summer, reread the book, trying to get in the head of Billy Beane and the Oakland A's and reinvent baseball. And we went back and reread the dip over and over and over again because we knew that we had to get out of the cul-de-sac to make things happen. And what we heard really loud and clear was create founders. Create founders. Right? Now, on the generating profits and wealth piece up there, the other thing I want to keep everybody just very clear, we also heard the need and the desire to grow companies that were nonprofits. Right? That's part of wealth. Nonprofits can generate real wealth in communities, so we know that. Now, the other thing we did is we went back and we had to ask ourselves, so what is the reason this program is here? What is the, when we get right down to the deep core, we brought in an outside facilitator, and we used a system called Traction to work through a process to get at why are we here? What is the core? The very core, beyond all the surface stuff, we clear down to the bottom, what is it that drives us? Why this program? Why here? And our core mission, purpose, is to embolden our people to the courageous pursuit of their purpose. Right? Each of you owns your own purpose. Our job is to embolden, to unleash you so that you can pursue it. The kind of abandon it's going to take to reach your very highest level of performance. We spent a lot of time thinking about our core pillars, how important those are. We talked a lot about all the times we saw those things manifested in this community. And we reaffirmed that, in fact, these 6 core pillars are really critical to our community, not only while you're here, but also as alums. We spent a lot of time talking to those who paved the road for you guys. And we found out they were all in. And those of you who are freshmen who were at our onboarding event, and you saw at a time that was really not terribly convenient for most of our alums, we had, I think, 15 or 16 alums come back on a Sunday afternoon just so they could meet our new students. Right? That's the power of partnership and building something important. So in chasing your purpose, we also came to the realization that the best vehicle for that is entrepreneurship, because it is both nimble and focused, right? Entrepreneurship lets any channel, any skill set have an opportunity if they want to pursue it, right? It's the perfect vehicle to let people pursue why they're on the planet. It's the perfect vehicle, right? And so we were actually quite happy to come to that realization because we are founded as an entrepreneurship program. It would have been terribly sad if we come to a different realization. And then we took a really hard look at what would success really look like? How would we know that we were winning? Well, first and foremost is to build a powerful tribe. That's you. We think that collectively, certainly individually, but collectively, all of you, those who have come before you and those who will come after you, will have a huge impact in the state and in the world. We want you to be a powerful tribe, right, with a culture. Right? That's why we're excited to have colonized the second floor of Miller Hall, right, for the tribe. That's why we're doing the work we're doing tonight. Cultivate innovative mindsets. We cannot afford the status quo. We cannot afford the status quo. It's going to take innovation. We also know that designing personalized experiences gives you what you ought to have as individuals. We want to start successful companies. We do those 4 things. We think we will be on track. We also know that agriculture is the center of what we do. And it's not just the doing of agriculture, the growing of crops and livestock and fiber, et cetera, it's the culture and the way that we do it. The values. The value we create, the values we hold. Right? And that's central to us. And it's allowed us to displace some water, to disrupt the surface tension of the lake, if you will. But we also know that if we try to build something special and magnificent and we try to close our community off, we'll make a mistake. We need multiple perspectives, unique perspectives, people who see the world a little differently, those who think in pictures and those who think in music and those who think in design, to come in and hang out with those of us who think in the space of agriculture. And that we're not going to limit you or ourselves in the future to say, wow, gee, that idea, it doesn't sound perfectly like agriculture, we are not going to do it. That's back to the old way of doing school, right? That's the wrong answer. No. The question is do you get the right questions? And we think that over time, our center is going to continue to be strong, and agriculture is going to provide the foundation for what we do. But we think Engler entrepreneurs, we're going to attract talent from across campus, from across the state, from across the country, from across the world. And we think that entrepreneurs from this program are going to displace water in lots of lakes. And when we do that, we'll increase our collective value, we'll increase the power of our solutions, and the way that we serve the community. We also learned 2 really important things. For lots of time in the last 5 years, we've spent a lot of time thinking about, we got to start companies, we got to start companies, we got to start companies. In fact, the place we have to start is we have to build people. Right? We have to build people. You're going to hear that when Brennan talks to you about how central that is to us. The entrepreneur starts off with the mindset and helping people develop that sort of permission to think differently, to be out of the box, to have some experiences that don't break them, right? They're risky, but if you fail, it's actually kind of cool and glorious, but it doesn't break the bank, it doesn't make your parents nervous, right? You learn a lot in that space. That helps you then get to commitment phase, where you can build, test, and refine, and then the day will come for that individual when they're all in. When they look around and they say, okay, it's full launch. we're all in. The second piece is to build the business. Person first, business second. People first, business second. The business thing is a process too, right? We start with an idea, we go validate it, right? Does the market even like it, right? We're sitting back here recognizing the market likes this fire pole quite a bit. And so now Brennan and I are going to go figure out how to get that past the university risk managers to actually. So we're trying to go validate that idea, but we know the market loves the idea, right? Now we're getting it past the regulators. Does the market fit there? Once you've validated, you've got market fit, you get ready to launch, then you can scale the company. Right? It's a process. It's a process. And we've also recognized that the traditional university model, while it serves many things well, doesn't serve us very well. So we figured out how to fly low and fast, to be inside the system without being constrained by the system. I'm very proud of our team because we behaved and thought like entrepreneurs through this process. Now Brennan's going to come up and share with you the full-on approach to what we're going to take to try to help you guys achieve your dreams.
So after all that learning that we did this summer, we sat down and we literally just had posters like you have in front of your tables, and we thought through, okay, what is this going to look like? We know that things need to change. We've got a lot of learning from the past 5 years, so how do we build this? We built it in a couple of different phases, and we call these phases camps. So I'm going to tell you about the first two camps tonight that will affect you the most. The first is what we call the Explore camp. Now these camps are designed so that they fit the student with where the student needs to be. It's no longer you take 101 because that's just naturally the first class that you take, and it only lasts a semester, and then whether you're ready or not, you're moving on to the next topic of entrepreneurship. This is now designed to put people in where they need to be for as long as they need to be. So the Explore camp is all about exploring this concept of entrepreneurship. What does it mean to be an entrepreneur? What are the realities of owning your own company? And what does that all entail? How is that going to change my life if I choose to be an entrepreneur? And a lot of that is divided up into what we call mindset. So what is the mindset that we teach in Engler about how you need to approach these problems as an entrepreneur? And I put a stoplight up there because what we experienced was a lot of times people don't know that they have the permission to be an entrepreneur. And what I mean is that, like, for 13 years you've gone through elementary and high school education and you've been taught you need to go to college. Why? To get a job, exactly, right? They tell you you need to go to get a job. No one ever says go to college so that you can learn to be an entrepreneur. Go to college so that you can learn to start your own business, so you can be a founder and not an employee. I know the same thing what I went through when I was a student is I didn't know until going through the Engler program that this was even a route that I could take with what I wanted to do after college. It was always, I just needed this so I can go to the career fair and get a job. So a lot about that first mindset is how does an entrepreneur focus on problems and approach problems, and then just the permission to be able to do that. You can do that here. So that's what the first segment is designed. And the second segment in the Explore camp is just really experimenting with entrepreneurship. And in the Engler program, we don't study case studies and like do things in the classroom. This is all about experimenting with it in a real way. We're designing it so that it's cheap, so it's not super risky, but you're going to be doing real entrepreneurship. So an easy one for this is the $50 business, which a lot of you have done or you will be doing very soon, where you get $50 and you have to start a business. This is where the Engler Startup Experience falls into. This is where we'll actually have a chance to shadow entrepreneurs, to have entrepreneurs come in and tell us their battle stories about when things went well and when things didn't go well. This is not designed to give you like this super high in the clouds view of entrepreneurship. It's a clear reality of this is what it means, like the benefit, the value if I go off and try to start my own company, and here's the difficulty, the challenge that it's going to be as well. A lot of it I like to describe as a litmus test. So that's a piece of litmus paper. Does anybody remember that from like high school science? Yeah. to help you, once you get through the mindset and experiment with entrepreneurship, you should be able to say, this is what I want to do, or no, this is not for me. You should be able to get to a point where you know, I want to own a company in my future, or no, I'm not interested in that. If you come to that commitment phase, and it's yes, I want to do that, then we move you on to our build camp. Thank you for being our model up there, by the way. The build camp, this is for students who are ready to build something. This is not sitting in a classroom. This is not I'm going to get a minor in entrepreneurship. This is all designed for students who want to start a business now. Think of this as a mini accelerator for students on campus within the Engler program where you can earn credit. So students here are no longer going to class. We've still figured out a way for it to get through 388 and 488 and meet some requirements that are minor. That's the point of it. The point of it is if you want to start something, you realize you want to do it, we've redesigned the program to give you the support and the tools you need to get moving. This is for students who are ready to do that. This is not for students who are still thinking about entrepreneurship, who don't have time in college because they're doing too many other things. This is for the students who are ready right now and they want to build something. Some of the things we've designed around it is we're going to give you, the faculty are going to be your kind of coordinators and your accountability partners, so they're going to meet with you individually each week and help you figure out what are the next steps that you need to get through in your business that you need to have a roadmap with. So a lot of time, just one-on-one talking with your business. We'll give you an outside mentor from the community that's related to your industry, so you get a coach from the outside as well. Then we're going to give you some sort of developmental coach. So similar to what Coach Cam does, is going to focus on you and your strengths. So how are you developing as an entrepreneur? So you're going to get a series of people around you. You're going to get a community built around people who are also building a business. So you're going to be surrounded with other people in the Engler program who are trying to build something. We're going to meet together on a weekly coffee. Well, you will have the opportunity in the firehouse to talk through these problems and what's going on in your business. That's going to happen every week. You no longer will be attending class, but that will be the learning will be replaced by what we're calling modules. And a module is like a workshop. So it's like a half day or a 1 day or maybe a weekend. It's really intense and it's focused on one topic. So for example, we might have a module on pricing. And if a student who's in the build phase needs to figure out a pricing model for his business, and he would attend this module, he'd work with a pro that we bring in from the outside community who teaches that class or that module, and then he would work with the group of students who are attending that. They learn the concepts and they work right there in that module to develop whatever needed. So the learning is all done through these series of modules that will be operating throughout the year. And a student will be able to pick, yes, I need this module. No, I'm not going to go to that one. I'm not ready for that in my business yet. So it's really customizable for what that person needs. And then lastly, there will still be some competitions and some events surrounded around this phase as well. So in phase 1 and phase 2, the Explore Camp and the Build Camp have their own events now focused on what those students need at that time. Do they need something that really builds their business, or do they need something that just develops their mindset around that? So for instance, in the Build Camp, this is all surrounded by a really high-level pitch competitions with investors. In the Explore Camp, they don't need that yet, but maybe we give you a chance to learn how to tell a story, how to tell their story, and let's create an event around that. So there's two separate things now. The key with both the Explore Camp and the Build Camp, the two keys, they're incredibly customized to each student and the commitment point. So when I talk about customized, we're no longer operating on a 15-week semester schedule for this model. That's where we're really moving away from what the university system is doing. If we have a student who comes in and they already know they want to be an entrepreneur, they've committed to it, maybe they've started some businesses in high school, we can move them very quickly into the build phase. They don't need to take all of these classes and spend a full year in the explore phase like our current model is set up, but we can move them into it very quickly. If a student comes into the explore phase and maybe spends 3 years trying to figure out, do they really want to be an entrepreneur or not? They need to go do some internships, they need to experience a few different things within the explore phase, that's great. We don't have a problem with that. If they spend that much time just still exploring it, we understand that. this is very customized to what a student needs. We also recognize that a student might go through the explore phase, and after learning a lot about what it means to be an entrepreneur, that this really isn't for them, that they don't want to do that. That's great. We'd rather they understand and make that decision and maybe finish a minor through some other classes that are available at UNL, rather than being in our classroom and being some of those students who are just here to get a minor and take away the time from our staff and our resources, because we want to focus on the students who really want to build something. I remember last year talking to Davis before he graduated, and he spent an entire summer trying to work on his business, and he was just frustrated because he didn't feel like he had enough time with the expertise that was in this program and enough face time with the faculty and the outside business community. We've tried to design that so that we get those students into the program in enough time face-to-face with who needs to help move them forward. The other key part of this is about what I talked about a little bit, which was commitment. So this is kind of the overall, the trail map of what we're talking about. We have a recruitment to come into the Explore Camp, which is wide open. Anyone who has any interest in Engler and entrepreneurship can and should be a part of our program. However, once they get to do the Explore phase, we're designing sort of an assessment, which we call a commitment point. That is what you have to get through and what you have to prove to us that you are committed to being an entrepreneur before you enter the build phase. So it's not kind of like an open highway where as soon as you complete these parts of the Explore phase that you move into the build camp. It's all about how can you demonstrate to us that you want to be an entrepreneur and that you deserve to be in this build phase. Because we're going to put a lot of value and a lot of resources about anyone who chooses to be a part of the second phase. We want to make sure we have the right students in there, especially this year when we first get it off the ground. At the other part of this, the other part of our model is what we're calling the accelerator camp. Accelerator with an E, get it? But this is kind of the next step for after this model is implemented, and it's all about how can we serve our alumni and other people from the community who have already started launching something and need support. And so this involves a couple different phases, even possibility like a mobile team that goes out into rural Nebraska and maybe a physical location where we can run an incubator or accelerator type of opportunity for alumni and outside community members that we need to serve, especially for those businesses that want to go back to rural Nebraska. So that's kind of the long-term phase of what we want to build. There's still a lot of details coming around that. So this upgrade, this redesign of the program that we've created, it's going to take us some time to implement it. Some of that is just due to there's like 4 of us to redesign this whole thing, and we're talking about redesigning all of our classes and all of our events. And then it's going to take some time to implement this within the university system. It's probably going to take us about 2 years before it's really where we want it to be. And we started basically this semester. So what does that mean for you? If you are an upperclassman, it probably means that you won't experience a lot of what these changes end up happening. You'll probably finish out with the classes that are kind of in your pathway. However, we still want your feedback and your input on how we can do this. From your experiences that you've had through Engler, please give us the feedback and help us understand where we're going with this and if it's fitting for what you see. If you are an underclassman, you're going to be right in the middle of this, especially if you're a freshman. 101 is already starting to be adapted into the new system, and Dave is testing out 388 this year within the new system. We're also have a few members who will be kind of our early testers for the build camp and how that will operate. So if you are one of those underclassmen who will be very much affected like this, thank you for being our guinea pigs. Please be open and honest with us and ask questions about how this is going, because it's not going to be perfect and it's going to be rough. But from what we have learned and where the program's been, we think we're doing something here that no one else on campus and no one else within the university system is doing. We're trying to give students the opportunity to get real value about being here and trying to help more people start businesses. And we think that this model can create that. If you have questions about what I just talked about, we put kind of 4 different Q&A sessions together. They're all in Miller Hall, and everyone is invited to come to these. The staff will be there, we'll have coffee, we'll be up in 212. Basically, it's just an opportunity for you to give feedback on what you thought of what Tom and I just talked about, and questions that you have. How is this going to affect you